Good evening and welcome to the Daily Faded. How are you doing out there tonight? Well, today is May 20th, 2020, and we're still in the middle of some crazy pandemic that we've been talking about every night. Sorry, I just got distracted by something. Anyway, slightly different kind of a show tonight. Thought I'd cover some slightly different topics. Although still some of the same old topics, including, of course, our nightly ritual of looking at the death and destruction that has been wrought by the coronavirus on this world. We're up almost 2% in confirmed cases worldwide, over 5 million cases confirmed worldwide, 329,179 deaths worldwide, which is up over 1% from yesterday. In the US, we have over 1.5 million confirmed cases, up over 1% from yesterday, and 93,622 deaths, which is 1,384 deaths in the last 24 hours, putting us up 1.5%. And in California, we have 85,745 confirmed cases, which has gone up over 2%, and 3,511 deaths, up 2.51%. None of them really numbers, all of them human lives who must be mourned as such. Yesterday was the highest death toll in California. So we've talked a lot about how well California has done, and I have praised Gavin Newsom and Eric Garcetti a lot, but I'm not so sure about the leadership they're providing at the moment. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. A USC study, by the way, hello. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're not climbing the walls, going mad. I hope you're taking a toke or a drink with me. Clogged. I hate that when it gets a little clogged. So, a USC study that tested 863 Los Angeles County residents last month found that 4% of them carried antibodies for SARS-CoV-2, which is the novel coronavirus, and 60% of those who had been exposed to the virus were entirely asymptomatic. This asymptomatic thing is a real problem. It's a real problem. GHS Global Health Strategies tweeted Dr. Mike Ryan from the WHO at their coronavirus briefing today on the 20th of May. And Dr. Mike Ryan from the WHO said, quote, "At this stage, hydroxychloroquine has yet to be found effective in regards to COVID-19. In fact, authorities have warned of potential side effects, and many countries have limited its use to clinical trials. Having said that, it is for each national authority to weigh the evidence for and against use of this drug. We have solidarity trials underway in many countries, and hydroxychloroquine is part of these trials." So that was the WHO saying, "Fuck you, Trump." You're taking hydroxychloroquine, you're a fool, you're an idiot, and the WHO just called you out. So I that made me happy. Some of these stories today made me happy. That one made me happy. Providing further evidence of his idiocy, I'm just going to go through this one briefly. You've probably heard about it already today. Article in Politico: Trump misstates Michigan mail-in ballot policy, threatens federal funding. There wasn't that much in that one. President Donald Trump mischaracterized Michigan's absentee ballot policies on Wednesday while threatening federal funding to the state if election officials there do not retreat from measures meant to facilitate mail-in voting. The ultimatum from the White House, which Trump tried to downplay later in the day, comes as Michigan, a state crucial to Trump's re-election chances, combats the fallout from a particularly severe coronavirus outbreak. Quote, breaking: Michigan sends absentee ballots to 7.7 million people ahead of primaries and the general election, Trump tweeted. This was done illegally and without authorization by a rogue Secretary of State. I will ask to hold up funding to Michigan if we want to go down this voter fraud path. He's such an idiot. He's such an idiot. And it's so true that he hasn't read the Constitution and doesn't know how what rights states have and what rights the president has. States have complete and total rights over holding elections, including for the election of president. It's very clear in the Constitution. If he withheld money from a state because they did mail-in balloting, the Supreme Court would find 9-0 in favor of the state. The U.S. military has been doing mail-in balloting for something like 160 years or something ridiculous like that. I want to say going back all the way to the Civil War, so however long ago that is, that's 70, no, 100, I don't know. I can't do the math because I'm stoned. I'm a math surgeon, as Jim Dore likes to say. Anyway, I need to speak a little bit more loudly. The president similarly threatened Nevada later Wednesday morning, tweeting, quote, state of Nevada thinks that they can send out illegal vote-by-mail ballots, creating a great voter fraud scenario for the state and the U.S. They can't. If they do, I think I can hold up funds to the state. Sorry, but you must not cheat in elections. So all this is the next front in the GOP's war on voting and voting rights. That's all it is. It's just the next beachhead. It's the next hill that they're trying to take. Get rid of mail-in voting. They want to do anything and everything possible to limit the vote. So that's what they're doing, and it's widely believed by both sides that a higher turnout leads to a Democratic win and a lower turnout leads to a Republican win. And I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. But that's the operating principle that's guiding all of this. All of this. And again, we must remember that, I don't know, I mean, I'm sorry guys if I'm sounding preachy and shit, but asking people to go vote in a pandemic where it could cost them their life to vote, that is an act of voter suppression. That is a direct threat against the life of the voter if they vote. That's not a democratic election. It just can't be. It can't be. Bernie tweeted, whether Trump likes it or not, our priority now must be that every single person in our country can safely vote. Throughout our history, millions of men, I can't really do Bernie. I can do Sherrod Brown. Throughout our history, millions of men and women have fought and died to protect our democracy. We will not allow Trump to undermine that sacred American principle. Go Bernie, bring the cliches, full-on Biden style, attacking Donald Trump, coming across like the winner's winner. That's a weak-ass tweet, Bernie. Whoever does your tweeting for you. Weak-ass tweet from Bernie. Weak-ass tweet. So I'm going to actually talk a lot about California tonight. And I think all 4 people watching are here in the state of California, so what a coincidence. I'm bringing you news relevant to the lives you live and where you live them. And for some of you, that's going to be especially true towards the end of the show. God, I really hope you're smoking weed with me, whoever you are out there. I know I have some non-weed smokers in my audience. My audience of 4. Anyway, I always make the same mistake, which is that I smoke right before I'm about to read something. And so my voice is all like, by the way, tonight I'm smoking Face Off and Tangy. But mostly Face Off. Very happy they have it again. They didn't have it for a long time. Okay, this was from the SFist. 2 great follows on Twitter are the SFist and the LAist. They're just, I have them both on Notify because they give me great California updates, which I didn't really have a good source of California updates before. So I like that. So this was from the SFist. Gavin Newsom eased the standards counties must meet for reopening. Then Tuesday, the state reported the most coronavirus deaths of any day yet, as we mentioned earlier. Those who obsess over daily COVID-19 data know that Tuesdays tend to have the largest numbers of reported fatalities. Hospitals and government organizations are generally catching up on weekend backlog. Some cases that fell through the weekend cracks get processed. But that's no comfort to the news that yesterday, a Tuesday, California saw the largest number of reported deaths of any day yet since this whole mess started, according to the San Jose Mercury News. And that paper also reports that the Bay Area saw its 2-day perfect streak of no reported deaths end, with 9 fatalities in San Mateo County, 3 in Alameda County, and 2 in Santa Clara County. So we flattened the curve in California. We really did. But the thing that happens when you flatten the curve, or maybe I should do it like this, I don't know, right? You flatten the curve, right? The thing is that when it's up here, you get hit with the most up here at the top. This is a stoner trying to explain the curve. When you flatten it, this top part pushes back further in time. The more you successfully flatten the curve, the later back you push the peak, which was the whole point of trying to flatten the curve in the first place, and then trying to build up enough hospital reserves to deal with that. So we may be at that peak place now, and the question is, will it be a plateau or will it begin to fall off? Coronavirus admissions to hospitals have fallen off, so that's a very good sign. But we're not through this, you know. I heard someone say we're in the second inning, and that feels right to me. So it goes on. This is a troubling backdrop for another report from the Bay Area News Group that Governor Gavin Newsom has eased the standards for counties to reopen. The previous standard was no deaths for 2 weeks in a row, a standard so strict that several counties applied for waivers, but at least it's pretty simple to understand. Newsom's new and far more opaque standard for a county reopen is described in the news group as, quote, fewer than 25 new cases per 100,000 people over the last 14 days, or a rate of positive tests for the virus over the past 7 days of less than 8%. That's got a lot more nuance to it than no deaths for 2 weeks. No deaths for 2 weeks may be too harsh as well. So it may be that wasn't right either. Newsom himself said Monday that only 5 California counties do not meet that benchmark, which theoretically means that most of the state could reopen right now. The Bay Area News Group analysis ran the numbers that the entire 9-county Bay Area region is eligible for green light status, though possibly not Alameda County, where some data is still outstanding. But here in the Bay Area, we are operating under stricter rules than other counties' public health officials have implemented. It feels to me like Gavin Newsom has made a misstep here. I'm not sure the old standard of no deaths in 2 weeks was right, and I'm open to be convinced that this new standard is too loose. If all but 5 counties in the state can reopen now, then it's too loose. That's not right. And that's not the kind of phased, careful, science and health-based reopening Gavin Newsom has been talking about. So I feel like he may be giving too much power to the counties now because of all the pushback that he's received. And I'm afraid he's given up too much ground, and I'm afraid that we're going to reopen too quickly and we're going to start seeing spikes, especially in rural counties in California. That's what I'm afraid of. Especially, I got to tell you, Memorial Day is coming up, and it's just going to be another day here at the hacienda. But there's going to be a lot of people getting together for Memorial Day. There's going to be a lot of picnics. There's going to be a lot of parties. People are going to do it. They're just going to do it, and we're going to hear stories about, the Memorial Day party in Utah that got 25 people sick with coronavirus and 3 dead. We're going to hear those stories. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this thing goes away, but we'll see. Now moving down south from the SFist to the LAist, another really good follow on Twitter. In a daily briefing that covered everything from the sobering impact on Los Angeles County businesses to the latest death toll, county leaders laid out how they are trying to weigh financial hardship and physical risks to guide the steps to reopening. Supervisor Catherine Barger reviewed some of the key figures from yesterday's meeting of the LA County Economic Resilience Task Force. She noted 80% of jobs in the restaurant industry are gone. Gonzo. 890,000 film and entertainment employees are out of work, which trickles down to many of the small businesses that provide support for the industry, Barger said. More than 1 million unemployment claims have been filed in the county. Over 75% of people who lost jobs were earning less than $50,000 per year on average. Anyone listening to yesterday's meeting heard loud and clear that employees and businesses are suffering, Barger said, adding, I understand the urgency to reopen quickly, but we must do it safely, and public health guidance has to be at the forefront of what we do to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents. So she's right, and this is where the federal leadership becomes so important, because the tax revenues that keep localities and states alive are gone. They're gone. They're down 40%, 50%, 60%. And it's happened across the country in red states and blue states. And states can only issue bonds for debt. And I don't think there are going to be a lot of people wanting to buy state bonds right now. Whereas the federal government can pump liquidity directly into the states and localities. They can transfer it to their bank account. They can literally do that. They don't have to sell debt to China to do it. So it's an insane thing to have every state cutting education, cutting cops, cutting firemen. What are we going to do about fighting fires? The wildfire season begins like right now, you know? How's the budget going to be impacted? I haven't been following the California budget conversation too closely. I probably should. Maybe I'll look into that for tomorrow. But we need the federal government to put liquidity into states, cities, and people in the same way it did to corporations and the wealthy. That's just what it comes down to. So when you have a federal government that has no interest in governing, that doesn't see its job as saving the states, I don't know what they see themselves as their own private entity, the president of the military, you know. And when you're more interested in the deconstruction of the administrative state than in providing help to people, Christ, it's depressing. So there's that. All right, now we got a couple of other things here. I actually have two stories about people tonight. I've got two more stories from the LAist. Then something great to go out on, but hold on one second. Friends, countrymen, siblings, I ask you, I beg of you, there's 4 of you watching. Could I please get 4 likes? Please? It would mean so much to me. Anyway, moving on. The LAist. We're into that third part of the show where it's a little bit more higher degree of difficulty. Oh, look at that. We're up to 3 likes. Thank you. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means to me. That means the world to me. I'm assuming that the 4th one of you is hate watching. The Palais Garnier might have had the Phantom of the Opera, but the Hollywood Bowl has the Saxman, at least it used to. If you've passed through the tunnel that bores under Highland Avenue on your way to or from a show at the Bowl in the past 36 years, you've heard the sweet sound of an alto saxophone belonging to one Ken Warfield, aka Saxman. But with the cancellation of the 2020 season at the 100-year-old amphitheater, compounding the crushing blow to musicians, audiences, and paid staff, comes the silencing of this unsung Hollywood legend, and that he is. I believe I've seen him just about every time I've been to the Bowl. I was so looking forward to my 37th year, Warfield said by phone this week, audibly crying, but that's not going to be at this time. When they reopen, by God's grace, I look to be there to see all of my friends. Warfield's repertoire is a mix of jazz standards, Coltrane, Miles, and original tunes like Hollywood Bowl, Day and Nights. He plays an alto sax because it has the best sound for the tunnel, as well as a keyboard. His dog, a dachshund Chihuahua mix, named Sandy Blue 2, sits on his lap. Every now and again, he says, she'll jump off and go say hi to the people. So Saxman is an LA original. He's an LA native. He's an LA legend. God damn it, I hope he's okay. Saxman, if you're out there, if you're watching this, we're rooting for you. Let me know if you need us to send up a GoFundMe or something for you. That guy's really cool. He's always there playing that saxophone. And that's one person I'd like to see employed. Also from the LAist, this is just a little bit of information for certain members of my audience regarding Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree is among the first national parks to open to visitors since they were closed due to the pandemic. But not everything is open. Visitor centers and group campsites remain closed and park programs are canceled. But trails, most bathrooms, regular campsites, roads, and parking lots are now open. Some campsite reservations can be made on recreation.gov. Other sites inside the park can be reserved in person on a first come, first served basis until September 4th, 2020. Kenji Haruntunyan with the nonprofit Friends of Joshua Tree says there's a silver lining post closure. He says plants have been spotted sprouting on popular unpaved trails. He says there have also been more wildlife sightings at Barker Dam and other watering holes nearby. Redwood National Park up north also reopened beginning May 19th, although restaurants, parking lots, and visitor centers there will remain closed. If you're headed to Joshua Tree, some advice: bring plenty of water. There's none at the park. There's also no cell service, so plan accordingly. That was just an infomercial for those of you who might need information about Joshua Tree National Park. And last, I wanted to end with something that somebody tweeted today. It's a picture. They tweeted a picture of an obit that I assume is a recent obit. I guess. I hope it is a recent obit. Randall Jacobs, Phoenix. Randall Jacobs of Phoenix died at age 65, having lived a life that would have sent a lesser man to his grave decades earlier. His friends called him RJ, but to his family, he was Uncle Bunky, aka the Bunkster. He told his last joke, which cannot be printed here, on May 4th, 2020. Uncle Bunky burned the candle and whatever else was handy at both ends. He spoke in a gravelly patois of wisecracks, mangled metaphors, and inspired profanity that reflected the Arizona dive bars, Colorado ski slopes, and various dodgy establishments and nights. He was a living, breathing, hang loose sign, a swaggering hybrid of zony desert rat, SoCal hobo, and Telluride ski bum. A prolific purveyor of bunkyisms such as Save It Clown or Zebo if he was in a mood. That's Zeebo. He would mercilessly tease his Goombots nephews with nicknames such as Mudflap and Stylemaster. Just days after his beloved cat Kidders passed away, he too succumbed to the Great Graudu, leaving behind a vapor trail of memories and a piece of sage advice lingering in his loved ones' ears. Do what Bunky say, not what Bunky do. For all his chaotic energy and hysterical charm, he had a gentle soul. A night out with Bunky could result in a court summons or a world-class hangover, but his friends and family would drop whatever they were doing to make a trip out to see him. His impish smile and irreverent sense of humor were enough to quell whatever sensibilities he offended. He didn't mean any harm. That was just Bunky being Bunky. When the end drew near, he left us with a final Bunkyism. Quote, I'm ready for the dirt nap, but you can't leave the party if you can't find the door. He found the door, but the party will never be the same without him. And here's the best part. In lieu of flowers, please pay someone's open bar tab, smoke a bowl, and fearlessly carve out some fresh lines through the trees of the gnarliest side of the mountain. So for RJ, for Uncle Bunky, I'm going to smoke a bowl in memory of his wonderful life. Folks, that's the Daily Faded for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I'll be back tomorrow night at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and notify even if you like. And thanks again. It really means a lot to me. All right. Good night.